The whispering fungi. I stood at the threshold of my childhood home, a relic of the past that seemed untouched by the horrors I had faced. But I was no longer the timid child who had fled this place in tears, carrying a mind burdened by the weight of my family's scorn. I was a beacon of dark knowledge now, and what I had learned in the years apart lingered in the air like the damp musk of a moldy cellar. "You're back," my mother said, her voice cloaked in cautious curiosity. She stood at the door, wearing the same faded apron she always had, framing her bewildered expression. My father hovered behind her, arms crossed defensively, a fortress against my return. "Yes, I have something to show you," I replied, a chill running down my spine, not from fear, but from the thrill of vindication. I had spent years navigating the shadows of ancient forests, uncovering the consciousness of the fungi that thrived beneath the earth. My journey had been one of exiled obsession, mocked for my relentless pursuit of the ridiculous, yet now I was recognized among the few who trod the fine line between madness and enlightenment. "You went off to chase ghosts," my father barked, the familiar disdain seeping through the cracks of his vocabulary. "What do you expect us to believe now? That you found the fairy tale you've been dreaming of?" The corners of my mouth curled into a... Each encounter had shaped me, twisting and transforming my understanding of reality and that which crept within the chaotic dance of spore and intent. They had fired me from that sterile lab, smirking at my warnings of sentient fungi contaminating their lab-grown meat. But in the verdant embrace of the wilderness, I found the first signs of hive intelligence thrumming beneath the surface, a pulsating network that connected all that had been lost. Loneliness bore down hard, taunting me with chimeras of my family's disbelief. They had wanted a solid future for me, and instead, all I brought back was a shattered version of sanity, laced with an understanding of our darkest fears. I felt the weight of their mockery like a leaden shroud, wrapping tighter with each moldering discovery. The horrific trials and dark triumph, I returned home carrying a box worn and patched like my heart. It rattled softly with each step I took, a collection of the whispers I had captured, a fatal temptation for those who ever dared to doubt the nature of consciousness. I had preserved specimens of the most potent, reality-bending fungi, the ones that could illuminate truths, yes, but also shadows. "Don't come in if you're only going to scoff at me." There it was, a warning loaded with both bitterness and an unwarranted hope for acceptance. My heart drummed in anticipation, the thrum echoing the heartbeat of the spores I had collected. I opened the box in the center of our living room and pulled out a glass vial, the contents swirling like a storm contained within. My family's eyes widened as I lifted it, reflecting the dim lamplight in gleaming anomalies. "This is the Bismuth Spore," I said, letting the name taste bitter on my tongue. "It enhances perception. It opens paths to the consciousness of all that surrounds us, including domains you've deemed insane." "Have you lost your mind?" my mother gasped, stepping back as if I had revealed a gun instead of a vial of spores. "After all these years, you really think you can just come back and—" "Watch," I interrupted, the daring spark of defiance blazing. I uncorked the vial, releasing a cloud of iridescent spores into the air. They danced in muted light, curling like tendrils of smoke. Instantly, the atmosphere shifted, charged with an electric hum. Breathless, I watched my family as their expressions morphed from disbelief to horror. They began to convulse, eyes widening in dread as the spores took hold. They were seeing what I had seen, the invisible threads that bound our realities, They were witnessing the creeping shadows of the fungal networks stretch out from beneath their feet. I stood firm, no longer the child who had craved approval, but a vessel for the truths I had fought to unveil. The return and unearthed truth. "Stop, please!" My mother cried, her hands clawing at the air as if it could push the visions away. They saw the forest, alive and sentient, stuffing itself into their minds. I felt the fear radiating from them, suffocating, like a chokehold of dark reality. "You mocked me," I said, each word a stab. "You dismissed me, and now you know the cost of ignorance." I had finally moved beyond the need for their acceptance. What lay before us was a raw, unfiltered knowledge. In that moment, the truth of their derision pierced deeper than any blade. The shadows of vanished researchers emerged in the edges of perception, their haunting faces twisted in muted terror. They had been lost to this realm, dancers in the mycelial web, and now my family bore witness to the horrific cost of their dismissal. As the spores whispered their secrets, I understood that I was their herald. They would never deny my work again. They would live with this revelation, each moment reminding them of the horrors they had scorned and the darkness I had endured to bring the truth to light. And then, as quickly as it had begun, the spores settled, leaving behind an echo of what was seen, a visceral aftertaste of their own disbelief. Their eyes fell upon me, now hollow with a haunting understanding, and I knew there would be no return to the life I had left behind. In the silence that followed, I understood the price of enlightenment, scars that forever etched themselves into the heart, permeated by the shadowy crown of knowledge I now carried. As I turned to leave, I let the door close softly behind me, leaving my family to ponder the darkness that whispered through the walls. I had faced the unknown and survived, but they would now live forever haunted.